Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I wanted to make a little bit of a different video. I wanted to tell you about Mechabellum. What is the game? How does it fit? What kind of playstyle does it have? Maybe some tips and tricks, a little bit of a guide. I'm no expert, but I think I played enough games that I can give you some sort of an idea. I've started uploading some of these videos on YouTube, and there will be more. I mean, there will be a lot more. I have at least like 2-3 games per day that are YouTube worthy. I could literally just start uploading nothing but mechs and have enough material for a month. Game came out like a week or two ago. A week? And I've been having an absolute blast. I was fortunate enough to receive the key from the developers. They were like, here's this game. If you like it, try it. If not, whatever. If there's any other game you'd like, let us know. And I thought to myself, mechs and all this, not really my thing. Whatever, I'll give it a try. I took a key. I installed the game. I hesitated for the first couple of days, and then I just had really bad luck in a couple of games, and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a try. And my God, am I glad I did. Ever since I tried this game, I've been playing it like a mother trucker, and literally every single person that downloaded this game watching me play said that they had an absolute blast themselves. The game itself is an auto battler. What that means is that you will get a field in which you will position your units, and then instead of you actually controlling those units, the units will fight themselves. And the same will happen for your opponent. Like, he will have a field where he will position his units, and then when the time is up where you're both ready, the units will clash. They will fight automatically. If you've ever played a game, a custom game of StarCraft that's called Direct Strike or Desert Strike or something like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you played any of these other games where you can have like auto resolve, that's it. But you actually get to see how the fighting happens here, and it's a really cool fight. It all comes down to rock, paper, scissors concept, learning what's really good against what. Now, what I like about the game is that it doesn't really have, build this unit against this, and only that, and this against that, and this against that. There are no clear rules. You just have to learn by playing, and you don't really have anything to lose. Which unit kind of does good against what. I'll go through all the units that are currently available, and I'll give you a brief sum up on how they function, so that if you go back and watch some of the previous videos or any of the videos in the future that I will be posting, you will kind of understand a little bit better why I made some of the decisions that I made. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert. I've lost plenty of games, but I won plenty of games. The really cool thing about the game is that in some matches you feel like an absolute genius, a god. You just beat the crap out of your opponent. He never wins a round. Easy. And the next round, the same thing happens to you. And you're like, what did I do wrong? So let's jump into it. When you start the game, this is kind of what you will be greeted with. There's just a bunch of links and all that stuff. This is my combat power currently. The way the combat power works right now is that the higher you are, that's kind of the matchmaking. The higher you go, the higher opponents you will face. Now, this can vary a lot. I mean, a lot. And from what I've learned against one of the top players was that every time you face an opponent for the first time, and you lose to him, you will not lose combat power. But if you beat him, you will. You will always gain combat power when you win, but you're not necessarily always going to lose combat power when you lose. But if you meet that same opponent again and you lose to him, you will be losing the combat power. So currently, it's a lot easier to gain combat power than lose it. And essentially, combat power is the only real measure of, if you want to call it, power. Anyways, you will have to choose your server here. This is what the numbers mean: 101, 201, 301, 401, and 501. The difference is that this one has predominantly French-speaking people. This one has Chinese. This one has German. This one has Russian. And this one has English-speaking. So if you want to be on a server where you get to see a lot of people talking about what's happening to them, how to beat something, how to counter something, or stuff like that, I guess EU server would be the best. And also, you can talk to your in-game opponent, and it's predominantly going to be in English. This is the main page. You can go to multiplayer here. These are all custom games. I never really joined any of them, but I presume they're exactly the same as the ones that you play, just with people that you chose to play with. Solo, I would definitely recommend to go through the Commander's Academy because there's not that many, as you can see. There's what? 2, 4, 6, 8, plus 2 more, 10, 12, 14. They are extremely short. It's literally, you spawn in, the game will tell you, do this. You do that. You see the outcome, you pass or you don't pass. That's it. So it's really, really easy to go and quick to go through these. They're very simple and they will give you an essential idea on how to play the game. You have survival mode. I beat very easy and normal. I didn't beat hard yet, but I didn't really play that much, although this is significantly harder. Essentially, there's a different amount of rounds you're going to have to survive. And they unlock as you progress. The difference is that the harder you go, the more rounds you have to survive. And your units actually have less and less life. Now, if you play on very easy, that's kind of the multiplayer. Units have unlimited durability. What this means is when you place a unit on the field, it will always in the next round be there. But not in these survival modes. They will have a certain amount of lives, and the only way to make sure that they stay alive is to level them up. But in order for them to level up, they have to contribute enough, and that's not always going to be the case. Give it a try. It can be quite fun. There are some different rules in survival, definitely, than in the actual multiplayer. Community challenges, from what I can tell, I don't really know how you create one. But it's like someone had a really, really interesting round, and you get dropped in the middle of their round, and it's like, win. What can you do to actually succeed in winning from this round to that round? It's really a challenge because you don't know the natural flow of the battle. You get dropped in the middle of the battle, you have to do an assessment and realize what you're going to do. I think you got any amount of tries that you want, but it wasn't particularly interesting for me. Like, it can be to some people. To me, not really. I really wanted to just fight my own battles. I'm not really sure what practicing is, but I would presume it's just regular fighting like I do in multiplayer, just against AI. And I never tried testing grounds before. I presume this is where you can enter and then without the battle actually ending, throw anything against anything, which would be a really cool way to learn how units work. There are currently some tournaments being organized every couple of days, I think, and you can join. What's weird is that registrations open 15 minutes before the tournament starts, so you essentially can't pre-sign up. You can save replays so you can watch them for later and see what went wrong. And there's a bunch of links for the community. Now, what I want to talk about the most is units. This is the backbone of the game. This is what everything is about. And what's really cool is that every unit has its features and its upgrades, and you can unlock more the higher level you go. And fix the unit that it works in a way that you want it to work. I'm sure as the game develops, there's going to be a lot more units coming and a lot more upgrades. I will try to go as quickly as I can through these and sort of explain to you how they work and what they might be good against. I don't know, should I try from like top left to top down? Because let's do that. It's a bit weird. You'll see why. So Fortress is a giant mech. When I say giant mech, I don't mean in a sense of the world, oh my god, it's big. It's classified as giant mech. You can see its HP, you can see its speed, attack, splash damage, attack interval, range, and target. And this is how much space it will take on the battlefield. And these are the upgrades that are currently active. These are the upgrades that are currently available. If you see this, you need to unlock it. As you can see, I got plenty of these to unlock just about everything, but I didn't unlock what I don't use. What's really important about this mech is that it's big and it can tank a lot and it shoots targets individually. It does have a bit of splash damage, but not like huge. And usually people use them to tank because they can absorb a lot of focus fire, and then when you give them the shield upgrade, they're twice as strong. When they level up, they're 3 times as strong. Leveling up in this game is extremely important because I think it almost doubles, or it exactly doubles your everything. I haven't really paid attention that much, but I know that a level 2 unit against level 1 is incredible difference. Just like level 3 against level 2 or level 1 is. The way the units level up is if they have enough contribution. That means they killed enough stuff. Unfortunately, some units are always going to be cannon fodder, so they won't really be leveling up. What this is really good against is, again, individual targets, and some, it does have some splash, but for the most part, what I've seen people use it is just, all right, here's it's called Fortress. Here's Fortress, fucking shoot at him. You get a couple of these, you give him shields and upgrades and all that, and then you let the rest of your mechs do the job. The upgrades, I'm not really going to go through all of them. I'll just put it like this, so you can pause the video and check it out for yourself, and you can see which ones I have. It's really expensive, by the way. It takes you 200 resources to unlock and 400 resources to deploy, just for one. Upgrades are also exponentially higher. If the first upgrade is 300, the next one is going to be like 500 and so on. Marksman, this is the unit that you can research for free if you don't even start with it. It shoots a single target. It's got decent range, but it shoots very slowly, and it shoots one target at a time with a pretty high damage. So against massive small units, snipers are absolutely horrible. Against medium size units that are not that great in numbers, snipers are pretty good. And against big targets that are single, like Fortress, for example, they can do good, especially with some upgrades. If you can keep them alive long enough. Yes, let me show you the upgrades real quick so you can pause if you're interested in what they can do. There we go. Vulcan, another giant mech. This is literally Hans gets the Flammenwerfer. It's just as big as Fortress. It's a little bit cheaper. It takes only 100 points to research and 400 to deploy. It's also very tanky. But what it's really good at is destroying in seconds massive small units. It doesn't do really good against big mechs. And it does. It depends about upgrades. How well will it do against medium-sized mechs? But what it really does good is just swarm of little shits that I call them. This thing is a god. Plus, with some upgrades and leveling up, it can be the carry. But it's also fairly easy to kill with proper counters. Melting Point is, for example, what's really good at killing giant mechs. Melting Point will attack a single target unless you give it a particular upgrade, which will then allow you to attack multiple with a very much its damage reduced, but you will be able to attack like 5 or so enemies. I think it's is it this one? Yeah. It's a giant slow mech with not particularly good range without the range upgrade. But once it focuses a target, it will always attack essentially without that particular upgrade, one target at a time, and its damage grows exponentially. What that means is it has a laser that when it pings you, it does very little damage in the first second. Well, it says like attack interval 0-2, so every 0.2 seconds the damage increases. After like 1 or 2 seconds of shooting a target, it will start doing incredible amount of damage. There is nothing in this game that I can tell that will be able to survive Melting Point one-on-one. Any single unit will die against Melting Point, especially with upgrades, because it can convert a portion of its damage to HP. What that means is that it's also healing. And after a couple of seconds of focus fire, it does more damage than anything else. It's insane. But against small units or medium units that are in large quantities, it's kind of useless. What it's really important is to keep them alive for the big guys. Then we got Rhino. Rhino is like a medium-sized unit. It's melee, and it's pretty fast. And it's literally a Rhino. It just YOLOs in, and it can be problematic to deal with. There are a lot of units that shoot like bullets, not real shells or projectiles or rockets or missiles or lasers. And this thing will tank it all. It will tank like no tomorrow. But the moment you start getting other stuff, it dies fairly quickly. What really is special about Rhino is the upgrades that it has. With Whirlwind, it will just rotate around like Axe from Dota, and it will fucking murder everything around itself. What makes it one of the most formidable and dangerous opponents in the game is this upgrade right here. If you buy this, and it's fairly cheap, every Rhino, when it dies, will self-destruct, and it will essentially destroy everything around them in a decently sized area. And when I say everything, I mean everything small and medium sized. I think the large units would survive. But a couple of suiciding Rhinos, if you don't have a proper solution for them, they will nuke your entire army. That's a big problem. But there are counters like Hackers, which just turn them around against you, and then you're in trouble. Wasp, a unit that I really don't like. It's like a light air unit. It can shoot up, it can shoot down. It comes in a group of like 10 or 15 of them, or 12, I guess. The good thing about it is that with some upgrades, it's very cheap. You can reposition them all the time. And that's one thing that I forgot to mention in Mechabellum. Once you place a unit on the field, unless you're willing to pay extra, you will not be able to reposition it. So it's incredibly important that you place your units with utmost thought process. Like, you gotta plan. You gotta think in advance. Okay, this might be good in first round, but it's gonna make me lose second and third. This might make me lose the first round, but it's gonna make me win later. And you have to plan accordingly. Here's some upgrades for Wasps. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people find better use for them, definitely than me. This is the unit that I use the least amount, because it takes you, I think it's 100 to research and 200 per, and they die so incredibly easy, and they're really, really easy to counter. And their counter is the very next thing. It's called Mustangs. I'm sure you've seen these. I use them quite a lot. They are absolutely incredible at shooting light air units and light ground units. And with some upgrades, they can really shape how you fight on the battlefield. Really. Extra range, extra damage, they're pretty nasty. And then if you go even crazier, and your enemy goes air, you can increase your damage by 75 and add even more range. They do kill air pretty good. If the enemy goes RT or overlords, which I call battleships, you can essentially counter their missiles for the first, I don't know how long. The longer it takes, the longer they do that, they become less and less effective. So eventually rockets do start to make through. But if you have a good army that can survive without being shelled for a while, the army will take care of the problem. But you have to be careful because of these. Sometimes you can lose the battle. Great unit. Very fragile, pretty fast. Steel balls is one of the most incredible units if you know how to use them in Mechabellum. They work the same way as the melting point does. They have 2 lasers, and the longer they focus the target, the bigger the damage. There's 4 of them. They're medium-sized or small-medium. They only shoot ground, but they will absolutely own giant mechs, especially in the groups of a couple of them. Here you can see the specs of them if they would be level 1, 2, and 3. So level 1, this is the HP. Level 2, this is the HP. Level 3, this is the HP. That's why I told you leveling up is almost double, sometimes even more. One of the truly best units, it can kill absolutely everything in the game. That's ground. The problem it struggles is against swarms of small or medium units, medium-small, because yes, it will kill them, but it will eventually die without doing any great damage. And you want to use these for medium, big, and big units because they're cheaper than those and they do massive damage. Next is Fang. This is a very small unit. You get a lot of them. You can research them for free. They are not melee. They are air and ground, or ground and air. They're okay. With some upgrades, they can be pretty nasty. But the problem with light units, light small units, is they can always get burned by Vulcans or RT or Mustangs. So they're not really going to be a proper carry unit. At least I haven't seen them utilized that way because they're just so easily countered. Any splash damage murders small units. But they're not bad. I'm starting to use them more and more. And I just realized I forgot to show you some of the upgrades from Steel Ball, I believe. Did I show you all the upgrades from a Wasp as well? I think I did. Just in case. Just in case I didn't. And Mustang, I'm definitely sure I showed you. Okay, so next is Crawler. It's also a starting unit, a free one to research. They are melee, unlike Fangs, and they only shoot ground, obviously. But they can be very quick. And against stuff like, for example, steel balls, they will probably win because there's going to be 24 of them against a unit of 4. Some of them will die, but there's so many of them and they do damage so fast, they will kill medium units without splash damage. Next is Overlord, or which I call battleships. This is a giant air unit. It shoots air and ground. And I'm sure, as you've seen in some videos, they can be pretty, almost impossible to kill. They get extra guns, they get extra range, they get extra units, speed, armor for everything else, range, more armor, heals. Obviously, you can only bring 4, and every upgrade is going to be more and more expensive, but they can be real nasty problems. Again, they get countered like stuff that will disable their upgrades, so make them fairly easy to kill even by Mustangs. Phoenixes are good, which I'll show you. Melting points are good because melting points shoots up as well. Next is Stormcaller, also one of my most favorite units. It's essentially a rocket artillery, small, medium size, I would say. With 2 upgrades that I utilize the most, and that's range and 50% more shooting at a cost of a little bit of range. These things are absolutely insane. No shields will survive the missile artillery. The problem is that if somebody goes Mustangs with anti-missile system, they get pretty useless in the first half of the battle, which can be more than long enough to lose everything but them. And then essentially when they become properly useful, it's too late and they die. But they're very good. I like it. Lots of splash damage, lots of rockets. With reload, they can really destroy just about everything. The problem is the moment they shoot, if the target is moving towards them, when they shoot, they're shooting at where the target is, not really at where the target will be. So sometimes melee units will just walk to them and murder them, and they can't shoot from point blank. But it also means that if there's two units in line, or one behind the other, if you're RT and you're trying to shoot this one, and there's a unit behind it, this unit will walk into the missiles that were meant for this one, and you might lose the more important unit, the one behind. So there's funny ways to use and play with and against it. Great unit. Next we have Sledgehammer. This is literally a tank, and it very much looks like a tank from StarCraft. Again, small, medium-sized unit. It has a bit of splash damage. It has some tanking capabilities. It can do fairly good against small units and okay against medium. You can add a whole bunch of different things on it to make it a lot tankier, to give it more range, more damage, some abilities. I prefer steel balls, and steel balls against tanks, I believe, win. Especially in higher levels. But they're not bad. They're definitely not bad. They shoot only ground. Then we got Hacker, which is the unit that I think use the least, just like Wasps. I think it's 100 to research, 200 to deploy. It's medium size. It doesn't do any damage, but what it does is it has this like a ray. It focuses one target, and then it will slowly start hacking it, and the hacking ends when the whatever the amount of HP the unit has. The hacking meets that, the hacking energy bar meets with the energy or the HP bar. So if it's a really high level unit, it will take a long time to hack. But if you're shooting at that unit, the closer that unit is to death, the closer it gets to hacking, and then it just gets hacked, and the unit becomes yours for the rest of that particular round, and it attacks the enemy. I believe there's also an upgrade that allows the units under hacker's control will immediately recover their maximum HP. So you hack a unit, even on 1 HP, it immediately becomes a full HP, and you use it against your enemy. These can be really good against suiciding rhinos, for example. But I don't really use them that much. I find them pretty expensive and tricky to use. Arclight is also, I think, a starting unit that you can research for free. It's a single shot, splash damage, really good against small units like crawlers and fangs. Not so good against everything else. There are a bunch of upgrades that some people like to use that gives them extra range, extra damage, extra armor. It can shoot air, and so on. And I did struggle against some people with them, but I personally don't like them. And last but not least is Phoenix, a unit that I'm not a huge fan of, but this is one of the units I don't like to play against. Essentially what they are is they are aerial snipers. They have long range, especially with some upgrades, and they do high damage just like snipers. What's the difference between sniper and this is that there's two of them in a squad, where sniper is only one, and they are in air, so they won't get shot at by anything that shoots ground only, while sniper is on the ground, and sniper is just one. However, snipers are half as expensive and free to research. I think this is 100 to research, or 50, and 200 to deploy. But there are some nasty things with upgrades, such as this. And I don't know if I actually published a video of a match where I played against a guy who had this work. I tried it once or twice and it really didn't work for me. But that guy I played against, I almost lost the battle because of it. It's a pretty ridiculous skill right now. And that's it. This is already half an hour video. I really thought it was going to be like a 15-minute video, but nothing new, nothing unusual there. These are currently the units, their upgrades and their powers. Like I said, there's no real one unit that's designed to beat another unit. Almost anything can beat almost anything if you position it properly and if you know what you're doing, if you know how to utilize it. And let me just see. Testing grounds. Enter testing grounds. Let me just see how this works. I actually haven't tried testing grounds myself either. Round 1. Right, so this is how the actual game looks like. This is how much you can zoom. This is how much you can zoom out. There are some camera options here. So this is your field where you will position your units. Once you position them, that's it. Before you position the unit, you will see which unit your unit will go for. Which one will it attack based on the information you know. You don't know what the enemy is positioning until you are done and locked in. Same for the enemy. There's no way for him to know what you're doing in a current round. Only when the round starts will you see exactly what he has. And when the round finishes, you will see until the next round starts what he had and how in the previous round. So you're always one round behind, but you can guess. This area over here and this area over here is where the enemy can position his flanking units, but starting from round 2. So you have to be careful when you're positioning your units. They're not all up front because he can position them here and here. They won't meet any opposition. All your units are going to go for all enemy units. And in the meantime, whatever he positioned here and here is going to go for these 2 buildings. If either of these 2 buildings gets destroyed, destruction of Allied Research Center will result in temporary paralysis for all Allied units, which means they're essentially like 95% slower. They do almost no damage and they take extra damage, and it lasts for like 10-15 seconds. If you lose one of these buildings in the middle of the fight, you essentially lost the entire round. They both have exactly the same penalty for losing them, so you have to be careful of your flanks, because even one unit makes it to one of these buildings and blows them up, you lose the front. So it's really, really important, and the same works for your opponent. What these buildings do is they will give all your units 15% extra HP. This is 100 cost. This is your starting money. It will give you 15% extra HP for the entire match. So you have to upgrade it only once. This is the same thing. It's just 10% for the attack. Then this allows you to essentially reposition units, but like you see, it costs quite a lot. This allows you to essentially destroy a unit and get a refund. And this is in Nuke, which I'm sure you've seen. This one is more per round. These are more permanent. These are more per round, because this one will give you an increase of movement speed for this round. This will give you extra range. This will allow you to recruit level 2 units, which, keep in mind, are essentially twice as expensive. So it's not essentially a good idea to use very often. This will allow you to put 3 instead of 2 units per round. And this will allow you to gain 200 extra supplies this round, but next round you will start with 300 supplies less. So essentially it's a 100 supply deficit, but it can help you when you really need it. These are 2 things that you can always use in any amount you want, as long as you can pay for it. This is essentially a missile that you can put anywhere on the battlefield. What it will do is that the moment something from the enemy enters its range, it will shoot this missile at it. And very often it's utilized early to nuke mass small units, because it almost nukes the entire unit and it's not that expensive. Shield, It would have been great if I actually saved, but I'm sure you've seen how shields are used. You put them on the ground, and then nothing that's inside will take damage from anything that's outside until the shield is destroyed. And that really is essentially it. Here you can see how much units cost to unlock. Right? And then you get to see how much they cost to position. Don't get fooled. Units do not... Obviously, round 1 ended because there were no fights. Units do not cost the same to unlock as they cost to deploy. For example, you can see here how much it costs to deploy. And you can see here how much it costs to unlock. They will always summon in the middle. You just have to click on them again, and position them somewhere. And this is how you can see with these red arrows what these units are going to go on based on what you know about your enemy. And that really is it. You start the battle and the fighting happens. You don't get a control. You just get to watch and figure out how you're going to counter, or why you're getting countered, what you're going to do for the next round. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a lot longer than I thought it would be, but I've really tried to cover as much as I can. This is your HP, obviously, as well, I forgot to mention. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I think it's currently $12 or $13 on Steam. I really enjoy this game. I will be playing it a lot more. There's going to be a lot more videos coming up as well. We have a channel for this game in Discord as well, where you can post your builds, counters, ask questions, and stuff like that. I definitely encourage you to join Discord, send a message, say hi, stay active, and all that jazz. Follow me on Twitch as well. I would appreciate a subscription, follow, views, hi, whatever. Follow me on Twitter, and yeah, subscribe, leave a like, share. Thank you so much for support. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful to give you an idea on what is Mechabellum and how to somewhat play it. Like I said, I'm no expert, but I've played enough games that I kind of understand how it works. That's it. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you on stream in a bit or in the next video.